The global food industry is vast. It's a multi-trillion-dollar giant, feeding billions. But behind this facade of abundance lurks a dark secret. Organized crime has infiltrated the food chain. These groups, often resembling mafias, exploit the system for profit. Their influence touches every aspect of the industry, from farm to fork. These criminal enterprises thrive in the shadows. They manipulate markets and exploit workers. Their actions have dire consequences for consumers. Food prices rise, quality suffers, and our health is put at risk. The reach of these organizations is global. In Italy, the agro-mafia controls much of the olive oil industry. They substitute real olive oil with cheaper alternatives. Consumers end up paying a premium price for fraudulent products. The situation is equally alarming in Eastern Europe. Grain production, essential for global food security, is under threat. Organized crime groups manipulate supplies and drive up prices. Farmers who resist face intimidation and violence. Ukraine and Russia are major players in the global grain market, but these breadbaskets are now battlegrounds. Mafia-like groups exert control over grain production and exports. They create artificial shortages, driving up global prices. These groups operate with impunity. They bribe officials and threaten anyone who stands in their way. The consequences are devastating, especially for poorer countries. Rising grain prices lead to food insecurity and social unrest. The impact of these criminal activities extends beyond economics. Environmental destruction is rampant. Forests are cleared illegally to make way for crops. Pesticides and fertilizers pollute waterways. The human cost is immense. Farmers are trapped in a cycle of debt and exploitation. Workers are trafficked and forced to work in appalling conditions. The profits, meanwhile, line the pockets of criminals. The meat industry, too, is rife with corruption. In Brazil, vast swaths of the Amazon rainforest are being destroyed. This illegal deforestation is driven by the demand for cheap land for cattle ranching. Criminal organizations control this lucrative trade. They use violence and intimidation to force indigenous communities off their land. The meat produced is then laundered into the legal market. Consumers are often unaware of the true cost of their food. They unknowingly contribute to environmental destruction and human rights abuses. The horse meat scandal that rocked Europe in 2013 exposed the vulnerability of the food supply chain. Organized crime groups substituted horse meat for beef in processed foods. This fraud went undetected for years, highlighting the lack of transparency and accountability in the industry. Consumers were misled and their health potentially put at risk. The world of processed foods is not immune to criminal influence. Price-fixing schemes orchestrated by powerful corporations resemble mafia-like operations. These cartels manipulate markets, driving up prices for essential foodstuffs. Counterfeit food products are another growing concern. From fake baby formula to adulterated spices, these products flood the market. They pose serious health risks to unsuspecting consumers. Organized crime groups exploit weak regulations and lax enforcement. They profit from the production and distribution of these dangerous products. The global nature of the food trade makes it even harder to track down and prosecute these criminals. Consumers are often left to fend for themselves. They need to be vigilant, educate themselves about food labels, and support ethical producers. The fight against food fraud is a collective effort. I bet you didn't know that your dinner could be hiding a dark secret. This is going to blow your mind. When you sit down for a meal, you're probably thinking about taste, maybe even nutrition. But how often do you think about the journey your food took to get to your plate? The truth is, behind every bite, there could lie a tangled web of corruption, exploitation, and crime. From exploited workers in distant fields to shady deals in corporate boardrooms, the path from farm to fork is riddled with shadows. Big corporations often prioritize profits over people, and the consequences are devastating. Farmers oppressed, laborers underpaid, and resources plundered, all so we can have cheap, plentiful food. But why should you care? Because awareness is power. When we know, we can demand better. We can push for transparency and fairness in the food industry, ensuring that every meal we eat contributes to a system that respects both people and planet. Imagine for a moment a world where every bite is a vote for justice. Together we can make that a reality. So the next time you sit down for a meal, ask yourself, how much do you really know about the food on your plate? Share this video to spread the word, because change starts with knowledge. And remember, the truth about your food might be darker than you ever imagined, but it's a story we all need to uncover.